Okay, good evening. My name is Ted Lind, and I'm proud to be a board member with the Annapolis Region Community Arts Council, also known as Arts Place. This is the opportunity we've been looking forward to for a long time, for 3 years. The official launch of ArtSeen, our online platform. But it's also the first day of COP28, so I think they're related in some fashion. Art certainly helps people pay attention and to the things in the world, so I think we do. We're maybe not, I think they have 30,000 people attending, but anyway. Tonight we're here to officially launch ArtSeen, a new digital platform that showcases contemporary art and artists, and I want to thank you all for coming, either in person or those people that are out there online, because we're live streaming this. A little backstory on this and how we came to ArtSeen. In June 2019, I was fortunate on behalf of Arts Place to attend a conference in St. John's, Newfoundland, organized by the Atlantic Province's Art Gallery Association. I was invited to make a brief presentation at that conference about the role that digital learning was playing at Arts Place at that time. For several years, we'd been exploring the use of digital resources as a means to address arts learning in our community. These digital resources included the use of video conferencing, the sharing of digital films, and links to other art organizations that were using digital technologies for gallery talks and tours. For example, a special relationship with the Museum of Modern Art in New York City focused on abstract expressionism, using their educators and curators to connect with us from afar. This relationship eventually led to an in-person field trip to New York with a group of people from our community. We had the opportunity to get a behind-the-scenes tour of MoMA, including a special visit to their conservation lab, which was amazing. Other video conferencing connections included several virtual visits to the National Gallery of Art in Ottawa, and for the landscape artists in our community, a special afternoon with a curator at the Brandywine River Museum in Pennsylvania, which features the art of the Wyeth family, including NC, Andrew, and Jamie Wyeth. A partnership also evolved with the Art 21 Society in New York, providing special opportunities to screen their new productions of 21st century artists from around the globe. In essence, my presentation at the conference focused on our use of digital learning with the community, underscoring an interest in this type of learning and in explorations of contemporary art. After my presentation at the conference, I had an opportunity to meet a program officer from the Canada Council for the Arts. He worked with a program called Digital Strategies Fund, and he encouraged Arts Place to apply for a grant to further develop our use of digital learning. We applied and thankfully received 3 years of funding. This was all before the famous global pandemic hit. Ironically, COVID-19 encouraged even greater use of virtual experiences, and we were off and running in 2020. We even began to use distance learning for our main gallery shows, including artist talks and workshops that utilize the increasing use of Zoom, and at the same time acquiring new tech hardware through the Canada Council grant that enabled us to record artist talks and to produce some of our own digital content. We've learned much over the past 3 years, and here we are ready to put ArtSeen, the name we gave to our project, out into the world. But first, there are a great number of people to thank for their involvement in ArtSeen. First of all, Canada Council for the Arts, for their recognition in supporting this project. Sophie Paskins, our illustrious gallery director, and Jeff Agambar, our assistant gallery director, who came to the project in the 3rd year. The board of Arts Place who have supported the development of ArtSeen need special thanks too, chaired by Julia Redgrave. Thank you. Becca Viao, our coordinating consultant who helped define the direction of the project and aided in connecting with other arts centers in the Atlantic provinces that have provided digital content for ArtSeen. Jason Allward, working with Becca Viao, who designed and hosted the structure of the website, needs our thanks as well. You've probably seen some of the wonderful graphics that have led us up to this day. Brian Graham, founder and creative director of Half 12 in Halifax, his marketing expertise enabled all of us to anticipate tonight's launch. The other arts centers included in ArtSeen are This Town is Small, located on PEI, the Eye Level Gallery in Nova Scotia and in Halifax, the Eastern Edge Gallery in St. John's, Newfoundland, and the Third Space Gallery in New Brunswick. Thanks go to them for their participation and willingness to provide us with digital resources. And special thanks to Andrew Tolson. Andrew, photographer and filmmaker extraordinaire, who produced the spectacular artist profiles for Arts Place and our 40th anniversary film, which you will all be able to see once we launch this. And you're not going to see it all tonight. You'll have to go home and play with it. Special thanks also to Dylan Tonkin, our tech guru. There's Dylan back there, still doing tech, who advised us on the acquisition of new tech hardware supported by the grant and how to use it, and his involvement in the production of digital content. Peter Mansour for his assistance in marketing, the branding of ArtSeen, and his collaboration with Andrew and Dylan in the production of the artist profiles. The artists who agreed to be featured, and I think a good number of them are here tonight: Lauren Julian, thank you, Lauren, Philip Bailey, Philip's here, Ken Flett, Bonnie Baker, Bonnie, Susan Took, Mia Turnbull, Leah McGinnis, David Peters, Deb Cusick, and Ray Mackey. Also thanks to the Arts Place friends and founders who contributed to the 40th anniversary film: Wayne Boucher, Susan Tileston, Brad Hall, and Sharon Hobalt. And thanks also goes to King's Theatre in Annapolis Royal for screening some of our artist profiles before they screen their feature films. And thanks to all of you who have gathered here to share this glorious moment. We will continue to share digital content on ArtSeen as we define and sharpen the direction of it in years to come. So please keep in touch and look at the platform on a regular basis. Now Jeff and I will guide you through the platform and show you what is currently accessible. And I think we're going to have the world premiere of our last artist profile about Deb Cusick and Ray Mackey. So I don't know, how do you want to do this, Jeff?
Okay, well, I think, how about you just feel free to interrupt if you notice anything along the way as well.
Okay.
I figured we would just go through the website.
Yeah.
You know, choose, not spend too long with any of the posts, because obviously everyone can go home and watch that themselves.
Yeah.
And get a sense of the different contributors and the different types of content.
Yes.
And go from there.
See, we're still inviting art galleries and art centers to
100%.
participate.
So this is right here, this is about us. That's that tab right there. It has a very brief description of the intentions of the project and highlighting at the bottom that, yeah, we'd love to have collaborators as we go forward and to reach out to us to do that. This is what the homepage looks like here. Just loading it up here. This is the film we'll watch as we finish tonight, Deb and Ray, The History of Us. It always picks up some recent ones, including, as you can see right now, that's actually, we're streaming live to the website right now as well as to YouTube, and some examples of recent artists, just to, you know, suggest places people can start their exploration. I should maybe show the people online what we're looking at. Let's switch to a different camera view here. There we go. So yeah, so people online, you can see that too as well now. Contributors. Let's go there, or here, contact us. That's a pretty basic page. Contact us. Yay. Contributors. So Ted listed Third Space, Arts Place, Eastern Edge, This Town is Small, and Eye Level. So what you notice there is that to get started, it's Arts Place here as host, and then in each of the capital cities, basically, of the 4 Atlantic provinces, we found an artist-run center to collaborate with. Any thoughts there, Ted?
No,
Carry on.
they provided different, some of the content is just audio, some of it is films. I mean, it's just a variety of things focusing on, I mean, our intent is to work through art galleries and art centers rather than work through individual artists. So the art centers like that, and we're hoping that in the future we'll be able to showcase some of the other changing shows that they have in their spaces. So.
Okay. So here, for example, Eye Level Artist Run Center. Ted, you can see that there's some info about the partner here, when they're open, their own links, address. They describe their values and mandate in this case, and some of the submission channels that they have open. Here are 2 examples of posts that they have made. I was going to choose this one as an example of, Dylan, you want me to? I can be. Adrian Crossman, Queer Batzine. So this is a publication actually. Here, I'll open this tab here. So this is a publication that Eye Level collaborated on with an artist named Adrian Crossman. It can be purchased from that link there. They also, Sally Wilken-Raab, who is their co-director or director. This is an example of her going out and doing a podcast. I'll choose at random, say here. And play a few seconds.
Eye Level, it doesn't actually have a gallery space. They organize exhibitions in other locations. They do a lot of publications.
This incredible project. It's been a real honor to work on it.
So there's...
and I want to start by acknowledging that we're gathering here in Chibuktuk on
late spring, early summer. We're because the first photo in it is of me and Kat, who's my partner, in the bath together, and took that photo, and I just really liked it, and I was just really thinking about how I wanted it to be this collective project, and I'd seen I'd just seen people documenting themselves bathing on Instagram queer and trans folks, so it just kind of became this collective, this idea that turned into.
So just a quick example of that's something that they recorded some time ago, and now it lives here, and you can also just explore that artist or that gallery from that point. Going over to, let's take this town. This town is small. So this town is small. These spaces, as they point out, is a spaceless organization.
Spaceless, yes. Spaceless.
So that's kind of a common theme with the artist-run centers that we've encountered around the area, around the region. They have examples of some recent exhibitions, installations, a podcast series, an artist talk done through Zoom, probably during the pandemic. This is a neat one. An Acadian musician talking about, I think, influences and other artists that they're inspired by here.
And so there's a fun place there to start thinking about all sorts of politicized discourses. Jean is going through a transition, is starting to question his gender and trying to work out what that means to him. In actuality, you're going to have the Stonewall riots in New York in 1969. So all of this is going to become anchor points in history for Jean to react to.
So there's or this one here, speaking of being a spaceless space, this town is small is currently engaged in conversations about how to become a space to space again. This is some workshops they held earlier this year where they invited people to come in and imagine what kind of space this town is small could consider opening.
This town
itself.
is small, all lowercase letters.
Yeah, exactly. So these are people drawing spaces that they would imagine for this town is small. Here, he's got some kind of geodesic domes going between in tunnels, and then an exercise along with that. So let's see, let's go back to contributors. That's This Town is Small in Prince Edward Island. Eastern Edge in St. John's. Oh, here. I'll come
Anybody
back.
been to Eastern Edge Gallery? No? No. It's a cool space, yeah.
I'll go to Third Space first. They focused on some podcast series they had done.
Yeah.
This one here, for example, is interesting to us in that the company that was going to come here and do some circus, I think they're interviewing their artistic director about cripping the arts, about being
had from the
disabled in the
years.
arts.
You know, some of them were complaints, some of them were highlights, you know, whatever. And my job was to translate these complaints and feedback to how we can improve our services. And a lot of it was kind of accessibility. So I was like, yeah, you know, like this, you know, if you had a plan and a thing going forward, that would be good, right? So I find a lot of organizations have, it's like an add-on. They're like, oh yeah, we need to add that in. It's like, no, you probably should have did that from the jump, and that would have helped a lot.
So that's a whole series, whole podcast series they did working with a local radio station, I believe. Eastern Edge out in Newfoundland, St. John's. In fact, here, Ted, you were talking, one thing they put on their contributor page was a tour of the space.
My name is Rachel Gilbert, and I'm the project lead at Eastern Edge. And I'd like to welcome you to our main gallery space. Our current exhibition, which just opened on May 6th, is
I'll cut out of that as well. So that was an interesting idea to put on there. Maybe something we will do as well. I was going to play this one here. It's kind of humorous. They ask you to guess what they're 3D printing. So here we go. Hopefully we haven't triggered any copyright issues on our stream. So yeah, just very different content there. Ted, do you have thoughts as we just done that quick overview there? Themes that jumped out for you?
No, it's interesting. I mean, I think the fact that we've expanded their audience by, you know, enabling them to participate in ArtSeen, that's I think the plus for them. The challenge that we face working with the other art centers is staffing and capacity for them to actually manage any new digital content. So we're using a lot of the digital content that they've produced for their own community and putting it out on ArtSeen's platform. So we may eventually be able to do some live interactions with them, and that's what our hope will be. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, the challenge, of course, the project is both a technological thing in building a website that's easy to use for people coming from different degrees of technical skill, but also then obviously building a community around it to use it makes it worthwhile. So it's a horse and a cart thing, and that'll be what we work on going forward.
It's interesting too, talking to our program officers at Canada Council for the Arts. You know, when we proposed this, the sort of centerpiece was going to be distance learning opportunities, you know, video conferencing. This was all before Zoom took off. And so gradually over the years, that focus had changed a little bit. We were producing a lot of our own content here, which you'll see a good example of it. And so Canada Council was, their generosity of spirit or their understanding of how things can change over a planning and development phase was really encouraging to us. And I think once we do our final report for them, which will be due pretty soon, I think we're in good standing with Canada Council at this point, and who knows, we may be able to scratch some more funding out of the feds to support this project. Well,
on that note, actually, I hope it wasn't too distracting scrolling down while Ted spoke. I'm going to switch over to the screen for the people watching. These are some of the earliest things that we've put up, and this is back in 2021. These are some artist talks. I'll go to right to the first one. Yeah. So this is an example of Ted speaking with Adrian Gore. Yeah. August 2021. Does anyone remember him being around?
You remember him? He gilding artist and
kind of Byzantine egg tempera.
Yeah. In a workshop.
Yeah, he did a workshop. Yeah. We did a workshop here. It was actually a 3-hour workshop. It was in Ottawa. The workshop participants were here in this space. So that was pretty incredible, yeah.
Okay. So, for example, Ted and he had this conversation.
There is ambiguous stories. I don't do clear illustrations or of an idea. And I don't paint purely abstract or minimalist, as it removes the content. So I don't work just with the materiality of the paint, as I strongly believe in the existence of symbols and their powerful effect on us. And I do not make conceptual...
Pause that again. Yeah, and again, as always, paired with a couple of examples of his work and a bit of information about him and links out. So that's a place where it started, Zoom conferences. Let me go back. Did I keep this open here? Okay, so here's some other examples. Casey Campbell, Aaron Foster, if you remember those shows. Yep. Ian McKinnon came in and was doing sketching and live drawing in the space while the space was less full during the pandemic. Yep. So what did I want to show from here? So just in terms of variety of content, so that's, what do we see here? We see those Zoom talks, we see podcasts, we see sort of overviews of this one here is an overview of an exhibition. Again, podcasts, installations. This is a Bonnie Baker profile. We've got a few of those. This was another Zoom stream. Oh, here's one we should look at. Ted made reference to it. Play a little bit of this one. You can go back and watch it later. I'll just skip in maybe about 30 seconds.
There's some great archival images in this piece, yeah.
The arts are at the center of life in this community, and that, I think, is due to what ARCAC, or the Annapolis Region Community Arts Council, has done since 1982.
In the first year, we had the last great Canadian Art Gallery. We started the gallery in 1977, and no farmer's market. It was just grass and railway tracks leaning down towards the wharf. King's Theatre was falling apart. That whole lower St. George Street was almost derelict.
Annapolis was very quiet. There wasn't too much going on.
It was quiet compared to New York City, and it was very welcoming. People were really welcoming. You know, some of the first people we met were like Christine Ross, who's an artist, Wayne Boucher, Jeff Butler. So we just felt right at home.
People knew we had to make a living here. We had to be accepted as being fairly normal.
I'm not sure though.
Yeah, that's a good note to end on.
Yeah, fairly normal.
Fairly normal. So yeah, that's about a 12-minute doc that Andrew did about the 40-year history of our organization. So carrying through tonight. So here's a zine fest. I think I will come back up. There's a few new profiles. Ken Flett in that. Lauren Julian, many of you would have seen that. Yeah. Leah Hendry, is that her name? Yeah. Oh, here's another one that's a different type of event. So instead of an edited video, here's just it wasn't even streamed. This is the Harold Cromwell event was really great recently, the exhibition, and we started off with this community forum. If anyone was here for that, it was a very memorable day. This is
first how the other side lived, as it were. People made their own decor. They painted their own wallpaper. They made their own decorative objects.
I've been at the market for 30 years. The oldest was there. The paintings were extra. It was just a joy to sit and listen to him talk. He would tell stories about all those things that he'd done. And I would always try to encourage him to do a painting of that. Or a drawing. I have a drawing of, he told me the story. I assume they're all true, but I don't know. told me about getting out of the war, and they were training him to be a to work in a shoe shop. So I have a drawing of him working in the shoe shop. And my wife is the artist in my family, and she was, if you all know CNC, most of you do, and she was kind of the one to encourage.
Wow. Maybe fade that out.
Yeah, this went on for a couple hours, and it was, there
went on for a while.
There were tears all around, especially in the Cromwell family.
Yeah. He ends on the thought about, I thought he might get there already, but he ends on the thought of how it'd be great if we appreciated people more while they were alive, which was a nice thought. Anyway, that's another whole, that's a resource. I know that while we were trying to talk about Harold Cromwell and find resources online, it was difficult. So now that's up. Yeah. And that raises kind of a theme that I think is similar across all of these, is that, I worked for many years in an urban context. Maybe I'll change to a different camera here. Hold on. I worked in an urban context, and there density solves a lot of problems that we kind of have to come up with direct solutions for here. What we do is ephemeral or distant. There are people that don't want to come out after dark. There are people that don't want to come out on a weekend. There are people that can't come out during the workday. When we put it online in these places, we get out of that ephemerality. We detach it from space and time, and we can be together in a different way. We have all these social media tools that are at our fingertips now, but the river runs really fast there. Yeah. Whereas, maybe we can have a few more eddies here and catch things for a longer time.
Yeah, when we were in lockdown, we did a number of artist talks using Zoom, and people participated in that, and it gave us a chance to record them as well. So like with Aaron Foster, for example, that was a Zoom talk. So.
Like a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you were looking, like, let's say Google Philip Bailey or Cromwell, would it take you to this?
Does it come up at the top of your Google search?
Like, would that come
I'll just repeat the question. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm audible, I think. Yeah. The repeat is, will we turn up in Google searches? We should.
Yeah.
Like the different artists that are featured. So
potentially.
If you were looking for an artist, for example, would you...
If you're on the arts space,
would it take you there?
All the arts will over.
Yeah.
So potentially we should. We can't control that directly. That obviously that relies on algorithm stuff. But it is open to Google and is discoverable. And any of these that catch on, then that would snowball. And I know that, for example, when I search for Ted Lind, it's an Arts Place page that we didn't use for Paint the Town that came up years ago.
Right.
So. In principle, yes. It's just the whole search engine optimization. That's a whole other set of work. Yeah.
And I think the more people that visit the site, the further it goes up the list too.
We do have tools set in to work on that, and so with some effort, maybe we'll have some. So one, you just mentioned Aaron Foster, and so I thought I'd show off that in terms of navigation. Obviously, you can choose to navigate by the gallery spaces, and anyone who joins as a contributor, they'd end up having a user that would be listed here as well. There are various categories here that can be filtered for as well. So, for example, let's say there's a lot of results under sculpture. If I filter by that, and then I filter by Arts Place, it'll link down. It'll sort those down for there. Or also, Ted mentioned Aaron. If I search for Aaron, there it is. If I search for Lorne, if I spell it correctly.
Nothing found. If you spell it correctly. Well, you spell it.
If I cut off my extra fingers, Lorraine, there we go.
There you go.
So yeah, that was rough. Yeah. So any other questions or comments, Ted?
No, I think it's, as I said, we've learned a lot in the last 3 years, but we're still learning, so I think it can only get better, more effective as we use it.
Are the videos shareable outside of ArtSeen? Like, can you share this link here?
Yeah, sure.
You could share this link?
Yeah, you could share the link. Yeah.
You could
share this to your own personal Facebook
Is it embeddable?
Yeah.
Presumably, I think it's set for that. We also have them on YouTube. Those definitely are.
Yeah.
So it's cross-posted in those two places. The question was about shareability and embeddability for anyone who couldn't hear on the stream.
So we're going to premiere this now?
Yeah, why don't we screen this?
Yeah. This one brought tears to my eyes.
We decided Ray would make something and I would finish it, and I would make something and he would finish it.
Right.
And immediately it was clear who should make and who should finish.
The history of us, I kind of date from when we moved here in a lot of ways, because we had a store and we depended on that to survive. I knew that Deb had called her business Lucky Rabbit, her jewelry business. I believe I actually encouraged us to keep that name.
We lived upstairs, we worked downstairs, the back was our studio, and we had one room as a shop.
But we're both from Saskatchewan originally, which was kind of interesting. And we both went to the art college in Halifax.
My pottery teacher gave me his phone number.
Right from the beginning, there was something working.
We collaborated so naturally that there almost wasn't anything to discuss. Ray liked to make the shapes, he liked to throw, he liked to make the forms, and didn't know how to finish them. But what I wanted to do was embellish, make little sculptures. I'm terrible with measurements, mechanical things. Ray is great with all that. He did the chemistry, mixed the glazes, fired the kilns, did the photography. But I enjoyed the selling aspect of it. Both of us together produced something that neither of us could have done on our own. Yeah. Is that fair?
I think that's good. See, a lot of the pressure was on Deb in terms of the business and how it operated and the collaboration with other artists in that space.
That world became too small for Ray, can I say that?
Mm-hmm.
We moved out here. Ray had his own gigantic studio, and then I invited other artists to come in, and it became a collective. All of that time, I was producing and selling and doing all the coordinating and renovating. All that came to a natural conclusion. We closed the store. 25 years was a good go, and it was the right time. Everything kind of fell into place. So now we're both here, each working in our own studios, doing our own separate work.
In some ways, it was a little bit hard to let that go because it becomes the unknown. What will I do by myself without that other person to collaborate with? Between us, it really worked. And so now that we're on our own, Deb is having to make her own pots, and I'm having to deal with my own decorative issues. There's nothing like pottery, really, like working with that wet, pliable, unstructured material. It's just this, it's all potential, and it brings very little to the game other than its plasticity.
Before, we had always made little honey jars or ginger jar storage jars, and I would make little sculptures for the knobs. But now I could make a freestanding animal, so that challenged myself technically. I also bought myself a kiln because I was afraid of firing the kilns. Ray had done it for 25 years, and I'm learning how to use it. And I'm learning how to dip things in glaze, and Ray's very supportive and very patient.
I find it very helpful to get my day started on a physical and on a mental kind of level.
One thing I'm so grateful is that Lorne Julian painted his mural at the end of the wharf. He put the 4 directions on the compass. When we do the 4 corners of the earth, I know which direction I'm facing. I grew up out west where being an artist was I took a few hard knocks for that. Here, I felt completely embraced as to be an artist. The camaraderie of other artists right away. People were interested, curious, supportive. I didn't feel like we sold out. You know, we did make functional pottery, but we made it with joy. But I always felt like a real artist. And now I feel like a real artist too.
Thank you, Ray, for your participation in that. Excellent, excellent. So, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. You should look at the other artist profiles. They, Bonnie's and Susan's, Phillips, they're amazing, and it's a great way to showcase the contemporary artists in our own community. And, I hope we'll be able to continue to do that as the best that we can without the funding that we got from Canada Council, but we'll see, and we could certainly, with your moral support, we will get there, I think, and do a little bit more. But any questions that you have, comments? I just think it's a great thing that we've been able to do, and I want to thank you all for supporting us. Just play with it, go home, spend some time with it. I don't know, I haven't tried spending an entire session looking at it. It's probably several hours of content, all related to contemporary art and issues of contemporary art. So, the more we put up there, the more labor intensive it's going to get for people who want to use it. But, it's just a great way to bring contemporary art and artists forward into the limelight a little bit more. And hopefully it helps the artists. It certainly does help us. Yeah. Thank
you
Soon.
for your hard work.
Yes. You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, it was fun. 3 years. Yeah, right. So 3 years. A long time. It's a long time. But Canada Council, in their wisdom, they come up with some good ideas, good initiatives that they seek to fund. But I think the use of digital learning opportunities, especially during the pandemic, really increased a lot. I mean, I don't know about the rest of you, but if I was looking for arts content, the museums were closed, you couldn't get into galleries, there was no ballet, the music was, so a lot of it was online. I mean, my wife and I got hooked on the American Ballet Theater just because they were offering free performances online during the pandemic, and now they've monetized it, which we may end up doing somehow with this project too. But I think it's a distance learning opportunities, digital learning opportunities, a great way to connect. I think I got started doing video conferencing, not to tell my whole life story, but back into the early 90s when it was still being done with ISDN lines, and you had a delay in when you were speaking. And but the museum that I was working at could connect with a school in rural Texas or way out in the hinterland in Ireland, and do it because those kids, because it was mostly working with K-12 students, they didn't have the ability to go to a big art museum or a gallery to look at original art. So that kind of learning experience, I think, can really spread our, I guess you might call it our sphere of influence, in a broader sense. And I think that's, the art centers like ours, that's part of their mission, is to, be real strong arts educators. And I think that's what we're trying to do here. So it's good. Yeah. So thank you. There's more food downstairs. Good. And thank you to anybody who was out there online with YouTube, right? Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. Good night.